All right.
I'm Darren McCarthy,
I am Dan Fury.
and this is The Fundamentals.
There we go.
That's it.
That's how you do it.
Okay. Have you been bad?
I mean,
Have you been a bad boy?
not really. No.
Good, because if you get out of line, we're putting you to death.
Yeah. We're going to put you in that chair.
You're going to ride the lightning.
Yeah. We're talking about capital punishment here, commonly referred to as the death penalty,
Mm-hmm.
which we, barbaric Americans, still enforce
Yeah.
in some states.
Mm-hmm.
32, is it? 31? 31.
Of the states?
Yeah. Currently have it on the books.
Yeah. Yeah.
Only a few of them are really
Doing it.
pushing it.
Yeah. And even of all the countries in the world that engage in capital punishment, or that is a crime, a punishment for a crime, it's only 55 out of
Yeah.
the 195 UN states.
And again, most of them haven't done it in a while,
Yeah. Yeah.
but a few, they got no problem doing it.
Yeah.
Which you can probably guess which ones those are. But
A couple surprises, though, actually, of
Yeah.
countries that don't do it.
yeah,
Um,
definitely.
or
The
countries
whole European Union.
Yep. And even Russia, like they haven't. Well, I don't know. It's hard to say. Like
It's
they
hard
haven't,
to say.
they haven't publicly.
Them in North Korea.
Yeah.
We hear stories of
People.
of Kim killing people for
Oh no, I think
the stupidest of reasons.
Kim, but in North Korea, they definitely do it.
Yeah, but I saw last year there was only 2 listed, which I don't even believe that.
But I think they strap people to the front of like anti-aircraft guns and blow them away. Like it's not like a inject. It's public, over there.
yeah.
But yeah, I think as far as on the books, kind of like through the court.
Yeah.
Even like Russia doesn't do it, but I'm sure.
Wow.
I'm sure people in Russia have been suicided.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Poisoned.
Poisoned. Yeah.
Yeah. Not poison.
Yeah.
Those Russians.
But yeah, the USA, leading the charge again.
Proud.
Yeah, and I think the European Union, that's pretty early that they kind of started abstaining from it.
2000.
Yeah.
They locked it up.
All done. It's been going on forever.
Yeah. See, classic fundamental style. So this is the first episode in which, aside from the LDS stuff, that I have participated in the research.
Yeah.
And, full disclosure, it happened in a fairly short amount of time. I'm still getting used to like absorbing this stuff well enough to talk about it. Like you're really good at it. You retain information really well. But capital punishment is a banner term. And then I had to stop myself from going down or through, a lot of wormholes.
Yeah.
Like ancient barbaric practices, like what's it called? The Chinese one, Ling Qin, death by 1,000 cuts.
Uh-huh.
And they just slice pieces off of
Yeah,
you
little
over
slices.
a long time. Oh my god.
Yeah, it's pretty.
Yeah, it's been around for a long time, but I decided to like really focus on our country.
I went down that rabbit hole. So
Good. Excellent.
Yeah. I think that back to like it kind of goes back as a written down practice, goes back to like 1800 BC. It goes back pretty much tracing back at the written language, or what is still existing. And so it goes back quite a ways. And then I think even in Athens in like 400 BC, something like that, it was any crime is punishable by death.
That's insane.
Yeah. It is pretty nuts. I guess, like kind of everyone, for me, it's the question of is it good or is it bad? It's kind of
is it good or is it bad, or is it up to us? Is it our right? Should we be giving power to the state in order to carry this out?
Mm-hmm.
What good does it do? What's the point?
Mm-hmm.
Is really the question. Like, you really can't point to data that shows that it's a useful deterrent to the crimes that it's being used to punish.
Right.
It's just not. If you're gonna premeditate a murder, you're really not thinking about, maybe I'll get the death penalty for this.
Yeah.
Or it's just not a factor.
Yeah. I think it's
really more for like appeasing the people who are affected by it, the families.
Right.
Who want to see the ultimate punishment carried out. But they have to wait so long. Most of these people don't ever end up getting executed.
Right. It takes decades. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where like the cruel and unusual side of things. So like, the argument against is it's cruel and unusual to have someone sit around waiting for death and it never comes.
Yeah.
So, on the con side of things, that's one of the arguments against it.
Hi. This is Martin Wallace. He's here for just a brief moment. How do you feel about the death penalty in this country in particular?
Just fine.
Great.
I think it's great. Yeah. I think they're just taking up resources, sitting in a cell. So we should really streamline that process.
Just move them along.
Yeah, 2 weeks tops. He's got to be able to prove without a doubt that they did it. So if you can do that, just
do that.
Yeah, I say as soon as it's guilty, gavel bang, just pop them right then. Yeah.
Bing, bang, boom.
Yeah, a couple booms, done.
Couple booms, couple bangs.
Yeah, we create jobs too. You got someone who has to clean up the courtroom.
Yeah.
There you go.
Coveted position. Hey, good
Terry?
news. Yeah, you got promoted today. Yeah.
And that was Martin Wallace.
All right.
So yep.
I have a quote here. Talking about the deterrent side of things.
Yeah.
This is John McAdams from Marquette University, and he's in the Department of Political Science. So he says, if we execute murderers and there is, in fact, no deterrent effect, we have killed a bunch of murderers.
Yeah.
If we fail to execute murderers and doing so would, in fact, have deterred other murders, we have allowed the killing of a bunch of innocent victims. I'd much rather risk the former. This, to me, is not a tough call. So he's saying, yeah, I'd rather risk killing a bunch of murderers. There's no deterrent effect, rather than not killing any murderers. And there would have been a deterrent effect, even if it's like difficult to measure.
Yeah.
Because we are allowing the killing of other innocent people.
Yeah, but like in states where we have taken it out, has murder gone up?
I think the reverse is true. I think that states that have capital punishment, or they actually execute people, the murder rates are higher.
They're definitely killing a lot in Texas.
Yeah.
And it's not working if that's your goal.
Yeah. But that's just one side of it.
Yeah.
I think for most people, it really hinges on how close to home the crime is.
Yeah. Totally understand the emotional component of this.
Yeah.
If somebody, for example, killed one of my sisters, I would want that person to be dead.
Yeah.
But could I do it myself? I ask myself that question. Did I kill that person? And then go through the same process.
Yeah.
Because it's not a freebie. I don't just get to pop him. But a sentence to life in prison without parole is essentially a death sentence.
Yeah. 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 So if you're on death row for the rest of your natural life,
mm-hmm.
or you're sentenced to prison and you die in prison, like you're, in prison the rest of your natural life.
Yeah.
I guess it depends on the conditions that you're, like what are the differences in the death row experience in the prison itself
mm-hmm.
versus just general population, but life without parole. But yeah, I mean, it does kind of what Martin Wallace was saying too. If it's like life without parole, what is the point?
Mm-hmm.
We're not trying to rehabilitate that person.
Yeah, it's tough to take that stance where you think that they could be rehabilitated, but
yeah, it's like you killed a school bus full of kids.
Yeah,
there is no.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, there is no rehabilitation.
No,
you're never going to be in society again.
No,
and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you say or do. It's kind of like if you I forget. Oh, I'm sorry. I forget the name of the study. But basically, they had these graduate students like voluntarily admit themselves into an insane asylum, but they just acted completely normal. But it's like, how can you get out of the insane asylum or the psychiatric ward? And it's like, because it doesn't matter what you say. The die is already cast that you are sociopathic or psychopathic or something's going on. You have some paranoid schizophrenia. So yeah, sure, he acts normal now, but wait until he's on the outside. So it's like, once you're in, as a society, like, we are not evolved to ever trust, believe on a society level that anyone who does some like the most heinous crimes imaginable is ever going to be rehabilitated.
Yeah.
So then they get life in prison without the opportunity for parole, or they get the death penalty, depending on the state or the country that they're in. But then that question is, what is the difference?
Mm-hmm.
We aren't rehabilitating you. We don't need you to be the best version of you and still be in prison.
Yeah. But if you end someone's life, you end their ability to live with that guilt.
Yeah.
Especially if you regret it and you feel guilt, if you're just taking them out, how is that really a punishment?
Right. Yeah. And is it a right of society to take someone's life?
Right.
And I think a lot of the reading I did on this, it was about the state doesn't have the right to, or shouldn't have the right to end a life. But the state is us. Like we as citizens are the state. It's not the government and then the citizens.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the government is the citizens. So if a state is executing someone, it's essentially the will of the people in theory. And I think actually in practice too, that there's no useful way to think about it other than that the state is acting on behalf of the citizens. If the citizens don't like it, if 100% of the population didn't like it, it wouldn't happen.
Right.
Because those elected officials, as long as you have free and fair elections, those elected officials wouldn't be there the next time.
Yeah.
So it kind of stands to reason that in those states where executions are carried out, if you polled 100% of the population, you'd get 51% plus, in the...
Is that something that we even vote on, or is that a matter of like Senate?
I think it's on a state level. I think we must vote on it. I don't remember ever
seen it.
On it. Yeah.
Because here in Oregon, what was it, 2011? Kitzhaber put it on hold, essentially. We haven't done any in many years.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's one of those issues that I definitely go back and forth on. Like, it solves nothing. It doesn't change the crime that they committed.
Right.
Probably, it clearly wasn't a deterrent for them in the first place.
Yeah.
So people that are actually standing accused of a crime that warrants capital punishment, it clearly wasn't a deterrent for that crime.
Ted Bundy went to Florida and killed more people.
Yeah.
That's kind of what got me thinking about this, because Ted Bundy's like...
It is voted on, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. Watched that 4-part Netflix documentary on him.
Yeah, he looked bad in that, huh?
Yeah. They didn't really paint him in a good light.
Yeah, he didn't really get a fair shake.
He killed at least 30 women.
That's
brutally.
Do we need him?
No.
I don't think we do.
But it's interesting. He was helping investigators while he was alive solve other crimes.
Right. Yeah, so now here's something. So if we dissect his brain,
right,
or scan it, and it's one of those things where if you find here's a giant tumor pressing on the part of your brain that controls empathy, sympathy,
which is a real case,
sense of compassion, is that person guilty? If it's that, like there's a physical structural abnormality in the brain and that is the reason that this person had this
homicidal.
Yeah, or
tendencies.
fantasy, hearing voices kind of thought. And if in 100 years the technology exists to fix that problem, or could otherwise like negate its effects, and then if you had that one procedure and that abnormality was gone or whatever, it was healed, and once it was healed, you would not do those things.
Yeah.
So is it you, or is it a brain tumor, or is it some sort of just other mental health issue or something? And so in that case, it's like that to me falls under the line of at what IQ level is it?
Because we in this country have executed people who had a very low IQ.
Like in the 60s.
You would call mentally handicapped. Can't say the R word.
Yeah. Cognitively disabled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that I can't see justification for. In fact, while we're...
Because at that point, it's like, it starts touching on eugenics there as well. Throughout time, the average IQ, 100 is always the average. But what is 100 scored 100 today would be like a genius level 120 years ago, just because the education system is that much different. So that 100, it's always a moving target. So eventually, we will hopefully progress as a species that like the average IQ in 1,000 years would be like a 200 today or something. We want the species to kind of keep getting smarter.
I doubt it.
Right. I doubt it as well. But I think but the point being, then you look back into history, and so right now we're saying people with a low IQ, it seems a little iffy to execute them for a crime that they may or may not even understand is a crime, or that they did it, or what and why, or what they're saying, what they're confessing to. Can you trust the confession if there is one? Can you trust their account of events? But if you're saying that that's abhorrent to then go ahead and execute them in 1,000 years, if the average IQ is an equivalent 200 today, and we're executing people that have even 120 IQ today, that difference is the same between the average today and the relative average of a 60 IQ today. So in 1,000 years, they go, I can't believe they killed this guy with 120 IQ.
Unbelievable.
He's so dumb.
Yeah. He doesn't even know what's going on.
Yeah. So on that is, I definitely kind of go flip flop back and forth on the pro and the con of, because I do hear it from like that resource standpoint. But at that point, if you're talking about it's a waste of resources, then so is everyone in prison for life without parole.
Yeah. If
that's what we're saying, if we're saying that someone sitting on death row is just drawing resources, if they sit there for decades, just kill them right now. If that was the decision that came down, jury of their peers and a judge, then what is the holdup?
Right. But they're due.
If it's going to take
appeals process
and all that, if we're going to go through all that, let's get in the fast lane here, fast pass. And even if it takes 1 year, it can't take decades.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
But again,
the family is waiting.
If we're saying, these people sit on death row for decades and it's a waste of resources, kill them now. Again, so we're already saying that the prison population that's going to sit there for the rest of their lives, we're saying they're going to sit there for decades. We're not even saying we're going to end it quick. We're saying someone's 20.
We'll be giving this guy a lethal injection in 15 years.
Right. So someone who's 21 and gets convicted life without parole, let's say their natural life is another 60 years. So that's 60 years that we're saying we're going to pay for them to be locked in a cage.
But that was my feeling of it before I started looking into it. I didn't realize how much more expensive sentencing the death penalty is.
It is, yeah.
So California is usually used as the example. Since 1978, it's cost California $4 billion.
Right.
Which is 10 times more than life in prison.
Right.
So how do we justify that.
Right.
We're going to spend so much extra just to make sure that you die by our decision. That was surprising to me.
Yeah.
The annual costs of the death penalty in the state of California is $137 million compared to lifetime incarceration of 11.5.
That's crazy. Yeah, and so right now there's over 3,000 inmates sitting on death row.
Where did you get that? So I got 2,743.
Oh, maybe that's the most current one. Oh, this one's a couple years old.
Yeah.
Sorry. This is 2013 numbers.
Yeah. Bro.
Hey, man.
We killed a few.
Oh, yeah. We start working through some back inventory. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think if you asked me if I was like what I thought about it, I mean, I definitely feel like you said, if it was a loved one. But at that point, you know, and you and I talked about before this, like, I don't even need the courts involved at that point.
I know, you're like,
but what I'm saying is, like, that's just like it. I don't need a we're not having a conversation.
Yeah.
Or I'm not.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if someone killed my kids,
you turn into Liam Neeson.
It doesn't, and it's like, it doesn't matter to me.
Yeah, philosophy's out the window.
Yeah, life in prison or death penalty. But that's because it's so connected to me.
Yep.
Emotionally. You
ruined my life.
Yeah, and I don't expect to feel like it's not going to, you know, I totally understand it's not bringing the kids back.
Yeah.
It probably won't be a sense of like actual closure or anything, but the vengeful side of my psyche would be turned up to 11, and that's it. You know, I wouldn't say a word. There would not be a conversation.
Yeah.
You know,
but this would be.
But then
if your kids were killed right in front of you and you saw the person do it, then that's justified. If it's a mystery to solve,
right?
I mean, how can you? There's so many cases that were thrown out while the person was on death row.
Yeah,
they were released.
Yeah,
found innocent.
Yeah. I think
that's unacceptable.
The estimate was like 4% of death row inmates are actually just innocent of the crime. Not just like, oh, that was a steep sentence. Like,
yeah,
you know. So we've definitely killed innocent people.
And even if we've killed one innocent person,
it's insane.
That's unacceptable.
Yeah,
because it could be you.
Yeah. So that's the other side of it. Yeah. So that's the other extreme is like, you know. Especially before DNA evidence.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. Like if you were executed before, really, I guess, what, the 80s? When did it really become
early
common?
80s. Yeah.
I mean, that's insane that you would be. And this is all to say, too, that this is like, you know, state control, like through the court system.
Mm-hmm.
Because there has been that vigilante justice that I was kind of talking about, you know, like it was me personally. I mean, that happens all the time. You know, I feel like that urge or that sense, I mean, there's been a lot of people extrajudicially executed throughout history. And it seems to be like there is something in the human psyche, the human brain, the human experience that is a course of action. That like,
oh yeah,
taking something, you saying, you know, you stole my horse, like in the 1800s.
Yeah,
I'm going to hang you.
Yeah,
you stole my horse. I'm going to end your life.
It's my horse,
right? And what is that? What, like? Because I totally understand it, but then again, if you ask me philosophically, it's tough. It's really tough to justify, to say that, you know, it's any more effective or fulfills a purpose besides just making the victims' families feel better or whatever.
You got what you deserved.
Yeah.
There's a list here. Deathpenaltyinfo.org is a great resource for this stuff. a list of exonerations since 1973. There's 164 names on this list.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Charges dismissed, acquitted. Charges dismissed, acquitted. On all these, pardoned. A lot of pardons. That's nuts. And only 20 something of these were with DNA evidence.
Right. Yeah, I think reading some of like the pro con arguments, the pro ones typically hinge on like an eye for an eye.
Yeah.
So, you kill a school bus full of kids. All right, the punishment for that is you're going to die. Like it shouldn't be you stole a car.
No,
you're dead. There is some weight. And I think we can apply morality in a lot of different ways to the death penalty. So is it on the scales of justice? Is your life taking a life worth you forfeiting your own? Does it balance out? In your mind, what do you think? I mean, in the absence of any other information, it's like, all right, you interrupted the course of another human being's time on Earth.
Yep.
You cut their life short. In doing so, you broke the moral code and the fabric that holds together society.
Yeah. Of the state that you live in.
In doing so, because of that, you forfeit your own time on Earth.
Mm-hmm. But
so no,
you have another 10, 15 years.
15 years, and it's going to cost $1 billion.
Yeah.
But philosophically, in the absence of any other information, or like in a void,
yeah,
on the scales, that rings true to me.
Yeah, I certainly understand it.
That's the thing. But the slope of it, the slippery slope of it, and the innocent, but potential innocent, like our system is not perfect. We sent. I mean, death penalty aside, we know that we sentence a lot of people to sentences that are either way overblown or it's an innocent person being sentenced to.
A lot of people plead guilty in order to get a shorter sentence.
Deal, and then it sets them off on a path of now you're in the system, or systems that are
systems way fucked up.
Systems that are in place and affect the Black community in the United States disproportionately.
Oh, yeah.
Like we already know that our justice system is pretty broken and pretty shattered. Yeah. So it's like we're not there yet. We're engaging in capital punishment before we're ready. Because there is always not just like the potential, but the probability that innocent people are sentenced to things they didn't do. So crank that up to a capital crime. And like you said, like what is the only thing worse than like executing an innocent person would be to have no punishment for someone who, takes the life of another. Like that, like it's the polar opposite. Like this is just as bad.
Mm-hmm.
Like if the state kills you and you're innocent, it's just as bad as a guilty person killing an innocent person on the street. And then there's no retribution or punishment. It's, I don't know. I think it's like if you ask me every 30 seconds for the rest of my life if I'm pro or con, it's like I can find a reason for both.
Yeah.
I can't be absolute about.
But if we can't be, then why are we? Because it doesn't get any more absolute than that.
It doesn't get any more absolute. I know,
but well, okay. So there's a lot of philosophy we can and will talk about this, but let's do some numbers.
Sure.
So you looked in. Do we get off track about you talking about antiquity?
Some of the ancient methods. Yeah. Okay. So a lot of these I think will be fairly well known. So like getting being thrown to the lions.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Isn't that crazy? So this is just on a Wikipedia page of like methods. But the method, there's a subsection called animals. So in the descriptions, there's execution by elephant, and this was a
what?
It's basically where elephants were used to crush the accused.
Whoa.
And this is something that,
Where was this?
the elephants, it's like Southeast Asia.
Yeah.
This is something that I've heard of this, animal trainers being killed by elephants. They just go berserk. And what they do is they get you in the ground and they do a headstand on you.
Whoa.
So they put their head on you and then they just like go up on the,
Do some yoga?
do a little yoga and put their feet up in the air. So you got
that weight?
8 to 10,000 pound, well, I guess it's African elephant, but
Wow.
several tons, and they just grind you into the dirt.
Oh, wow.
So you're just like a shit stain on the surface of the earth after 2 seconds. Yeah, so being thrown to the lions, also alligators, crocodiles, that would make sense. Piranha, sharks. I think the piranha,
Ooh.
you'd have to be already cut up and like weakened. And they'd have to be starving, I think.
There'd have to be a lot of them.
Yeah. There'd have to be a lot of them.
Eat the meat off your bones.
So, yeah.
Piranhas are fucking weird.
Just being thrown to sharks. If you think about what's at hand, 2,000 years ago, and you're on a boat at sea.
Those things will kill him.
Yeah. So just cut his arm and throw him in the water.
I keep saying him, and we'll get to that, but
Yeah.
I was
I'm glad
like, wait a minute. What about the women? Like,
Yep.
women kill people too. How many have we? A fraction. It's crazy. Yeah, we'll get to that.
There's the quartering. So you have 4 horses, ropes tied to each limb, and then the horses are sent
That's insane.
4 different directions. And it's pretty crazy. Just being trampled by horses.
Yeah, when did we stop doing that?
A couple thousand years ago. Back breaking.
Whoa.
Yeah, and it's supposed to, let's see, this Mongolian method of execution that avoided the spilling of blood on the ground.
What the fuck?
So it must be some sort of religious or spiritual.
Yeah.
What's the point of, we don't want him coming back from the dead, so we can't get his blood in the ground. That kind of
backbreaking.
And that seems to be what happened to some Mongolian military leader guy, Jamuka. Blowing from a gun. This is being tied to the mouth of a cannon, which is then fired.
Whoa.
Dude, and now here's the other thing. Like we said, capital punishment has been around for thousands of years. Like as a state sponsor, like the state or the empire, the crown is deeming your life forfeit. Methods have been insane.
And this guy could have stolen a cow.
Yeah. Could have been. Yeah.
Whoa.
Here, I can read let me read a description. The prisoner is generally tied to a gun with the upper part of the small of his back resting against the muzzle. When the gun is fired, his head is seen to go straight up into the air some 40 or 50 feet. The arms fly off right and left, high up in the air, and fall at perhaps 100 yards distance. The legs drop to the ground beneath the muzzle of the gun, and the body is literally blown away altogether, not a vestige being seen.
This is from a cannon, though, right?
Yeah.
Whoa.
This was apparently was part of means of execution as long ago as the 16th century by the Mughal Empire and was used until the 20th century.
Whoa. I knew it.
The method was utilized by Portuguese colonialists. What is the last? Okay, looks like in January 1929, we're in Afghanistan. Yeah. So in the late 1929 Afghanistan, we had a lot of turmoil, and political opponents were often blown from guns or executed in other ways. Wow.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Head flies in the air.
Well, I mean,
wow.
I can't imagine like what the hydraulic forces are at play. Like I imagine it's not even the cannon. You don't even need a cannonball. Just the force of that much gas and pressure would basically like explode every vein in your body. Like it would be blown apart just because of the liquid in your body. It wouldn't be able to compress. So it would just the pressure has to be relieved, and you're in the way. So
Wow.
that is insane. Okay, let's see. Bam, blowing from a gun. Blood Eagle. This was one that jumped out.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah, Blood Eagle. Cutting the skin of the victims by the spine, breaking the ribs so they resembled blood-stained wings. So you're basically going into the back, snapping the ribs, pulling them open so that they resembled blood-stained wings, and pulling the lungs out through the wounds in the victim's back. Blood Eagle.
Okay, this is why we need a video component to this show. Trained on my face as you described that to me, which we're going to have soon.
Yeah.
Look out. We'll be on YouTube, which we are. I don't think we've talked about that.
Oh, yeah.
We do have a YouTube channel now where I've started to upload some of the catalog episodes and adding visual components.
Yeah, so we definitely talk about like pictures and videos that we watch or look at during. So if anyone's interested, if we play a clip or something like that on the show, Dan's been putting all this stuff up, even going back in time. So
yeah,
you don't have to go search for it yourself, or
right.
think about it. So if you want to subscribe to that,
like the extra fun that we just did when we watched the Scientology video, I put that in our video, which was great.
It's so insane.
So yeah, there's going to be a lot more of those older episodes being, enhanced. And then pretty soon we're going to start filming
the actual recording.
Us. And we'll see how that goes.
We're going to have to start wearing clothes.
Yeah, right. TheFundamentalsPodcast.com right now will direct you to our YouTube channel because we need 100 subscribers before we can claim a unique URL.
Yeah, that's another thing too. If you guys are already subscribed to this audio only version, it would definitely just help us out.
Yeah.
If you subscribe on YouTube, and even if this is the primary and only way you actually enjoy the fundamentals, it would just help us out if you guys could all subscribe to the video one as well. Great. It would make Dan's life a lot easier.
It would.
Dan does 99.9% of everything involved with this podcast, so whatever we can do to make Dan happy.
Yeah, thanks, bud.
You got it.
There'll be a link in the podcast description as well.
Yep.
Check it out.
Now, back to insane.
Back to our regularly scheduled program.
How about... Well, yeah, I actually almost said this if someone killed my kids in front of me, you're getting boiled alive.
Yeah.
And that's the next one up here, boiling to death.
That's an English one.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So you get a large cauldron filled with water, oil, tar, tallow, or even molten lead. You're going in.
Holy shit.
Now, this next one I think is myth. It's not real.
Oh, yeah.
I think. But have you heard of the brazen bull?
I don't think so.
All right, so I've heard of this before, but I think it is like, someone that Zeus slept with got put in a brazen bowl by Hera, or something. It's out of mythology more than reality. The idea is they have this giant statue, a bronze statue that was hollow and had a door on the side, and it's a bull, and they would put the accused in there, and then light a fire underneath it and cook them inside.
Whoa.
So you just you'd be roasted.
And that sounds like something we could do.
I mean, I like the mythology behind it at least, it's got something going for it.
Holy shit.
Yeah, that one's pretty nuts. Buried alive. I mean, terrifying.
Yeah.
Burning at the stake, being crushed just by insane weights. Disembowelment. You see this a lot in seppuku in Japan. Yeah, just getting your guts taken out. Dismemberment, drawn and quartered. Being drowned.
Oof.
Falling, just getting thrown off of something.
Don't they do that in Islamic countries?
Yeah,
if you're gay?
ISIS has been suspected, and I think it's videos of them throwing bound and gagged and blindfolded people off towers.
That's fucked.
I knew I didn't like those guys.
Yeah, right?
Being flayed. Your skin is removed. A garrote, which is used most commonly in Spain. So it's just you're getting strangled with some wire or something. Gibbeting is you're just put in a cage, which is then hung in a public location, and you're just left there to die.
Ooh.
And that's it. You're just put in a cage and left to die in public.
Just starve to
That
death.
was a deterrence method. So other criminals would be like, fuck.
See,
Yeah. Actually, we did talk about this. From the deterrent standpoint,
yeah,
it would make more sense if it was public.
totally. And more barbaric like this. We have made it. We have
We
consciously
made it surgical.
Yeah, we made it a medical thing.
Yep.
Behind closed doors.
That's not what we're doing.
Right?
Yeah. We're not doing a medical procedure.
Yeah.
We're killing somebody.
Yeah.
So yeah, on that pro side, the deterrent side, if it's not a public execution, it's not a deterrent.
Right.
To me.
Yeah,
that's
that's a good
like saying you need to worry about your phone bill in 10 years, starting today. In 10 years, you're going to have a phone bill.
Yeah. Okay.
Keep that in mind.
Yeah.
It's like, it's not possible. You're going to forget that now.
Mhm.
It's gone. Let's see. Yeah. Oh, man. Immurement.
Oh boy.
Immurement? The confinement of a person by walling off any exits. So you're put in a room and they brick up the exit.
Whoa. Some of these are very inventive. Yeah, see, that sounds terrifying.
Oh, but then they were kept alive sometimes through an opening. So it's basically like there's still an opening to pass you food and water, but you're never coming out.
Well, it's a jail cell.
But there's no door anymore.
Oh,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
It's just like a hole.
You're
Like
sealed up.
You're sealed up. So the Countess Elizabeth Bathory, who lived for 4 more years after having been immured. Little Vlad the Impaler stuff here. Impalement.
Oh, yeah.
Yikes.
He was.
Keel hauling. Now this I think I've heard this. Yeah. Form of punishment and potential execution. Sailor is tied to a line that is looped beneath the vessel, and then they're thrown overboard on one side of the ship and dragged under the ship as it's underway from one side. So you're going under or the length of the ship.
Wow.
So yeah, they're tied. You're tied up. The line goes all the way around the boat or the ship.
Yeah.
So they throw you off one side and they pull you up on the other. So you go underneath.
Whoa.
The Poenaculae. This is a Roman. Man, you're just tied into a sack with a bunch of animals and thrown into water.
Whoa.
You're with an assortment of live animals, including a dog, snake, monkey, chicken, or rooster, and you're just thrown into water. So you're panicking in a leather sack with an animal panicking in a leather sack underwater.
That's awful.
That's insane. Yeah, what did the dog do?
Yeah. You just killed a bunch of animals as well as a person.
Yeah, I'd never kill a dog.
Right? Not a monster.
Get some poisoning.
Poison.
Oh, we got some James Bond thing here. The pendulum,
Oh,
a
shit.
type of machine with an axe head for a weight, and it slices closer and closer.
Yeah. That's some medieval shit. Whoa.
Let's see.
Oh, see, all of this is deterrence.
Scaphism? What?
Huh?
An ancient Persian method of execution in which the condemned was placed in between two boats, force-fed a mixture of honey and milk, and left floating in a stagnant pond. The victim would then suffer from severe diarrhea, which would attract insects that would burrow, nest, and feed on the victim, and the victim would eventually die from septic shock. That is like...
That's too much work.
It is so much work, right? You got to get a bunch of bugs, need some boats, milk and honey.
Yeah. What are you doing?
Slow slicing, methodically removing
Yeah.
portions of the body over an extended period of time, typically with a
Ling
knife.
chin? Is that right?
Yeah, I think... let me see.
Chinese word.
Yeah, Ling Chi.
Ling chi.
Yeah. Death by 1,000 cuts.
That fascinated me.
Yeah, so we got just smothering. It's like suffocation in ash.
Whoa.
They're immersed to ash. carbon monoxide poisoning by burning coal in a sealed room.
Ooh.
I mean, those are all out of antiquity. So current methods in use today, hanging, still being used, still used in India, Japan, and Singapore. That was used in the United States, I think, into the 30s. I think hanging was still being used. And that was the last public execution in the United States was 1936.
Yeah.
The guy was hanged. And shooting, just,
Well, there's been 3, it says, since 76 when the death penalty was reinstated. We'll have to get
hanging
into that. Yeah, 3 of them.
Oh, I think it's an option if it's preferred by the condemned, or if there's like no other means available.
Yeah,
it's like, all right, well, this is the backup plan. Shooting, very common method.
Firing squad.
Yeah, or a single shot at the back of the head. Happens in China, Belarus. Before Russia abolished capital punishment, they did that. Firing squad. Excessively powerful weaponry like North Korea, putting guys on anti-aircraft weapons.
Wow.
Lethal injection.
Which is the newest one.
Yeah, started in 1982 in the United States. China, Taiwan, Thailand, Guatemala, and Vietnam have all used that as well. And electrocution, only the United States and the Philippines have ever used it.
Whoa. We used that primarily for almost 100 years.
Yeah. Gas inhalation, only the United States and Lithuania have ever used this as capital punishment.
Whoa.
But this was basically a descendant of what the Nazis used during World War II as a mass murder weapon.
Crazy.
I mean, same thing. Recently been proposed to use nitrogen hypoxia to replace the lethal injection. I think the lethal injection drugs, there's issues getting those drugs.
Well, I think I read, which was really surprising, that Pfizer is like holding them back.
Yeah.
I guess in some sort of protest.
I'm sure.
What?
If protests or not, I think the marketing department probably is going, I object to, I don't want to have to deal with this.
Right.
You make a lot of work.
They own the trademark.
Beheading is still used in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
With a sword.
No surprise there.
It's crazy. Stoning, just being literally
That's
rocks thrown at you until you're dead.
Yeah. That's biblical shit.
Crucifixion. Woo!
Yeah, it says here, since 1976, there's been 1,490 executions. 1,313 were injection and 160 electrocution. I thought there was more electric chair.
Yeah, it seems like that's the old school. Then once they got the drugs, they started doing that.
Ted Bundy, they fried.
Fried him.
I have a description of what happens to a person as they're being electrocuted. And this is terrifying. The prisoner's eyeballs sometimes pop out and rest on his cheeks. It says his, it's in brackets. The prisoner often defecates, urinates, and vomits blood and drool. The body turns bright red as its temperature rises, and the prisoner's flesh swells and his skin stretches to the point of breaking. Sometimes the prisoner catches fire. Witnesses hear a loud and sustained sound like bacon frying, and the sickly sweet smell of burning flesh permeates the chamber.
I don't understand why
Yikes.
shooting someone is
When we first talked about this, you brought up firing squad. I'm like, oh man, I don't know about that. That does seem like the best way to go.
Yeah, I mean,
all around.
It's like there are marksmen and there are calibers that it is 100%.
Yeah, done deal.
And it's going to be instantaneous.
Yep. Because we have botched executions several times.
Yeah, you take really like a rifle that like a hunting rifle. There are calibers that you don't even have to like hit them dead on. Like it's just the amount of damage is going to be insane. If it can kill a moose in one shot or a buffalo in one shot, out in the wild too, like not like with
standing there,
a bench rest and everything, like 100% stable and controlled. Like I don't know. I mean, maybe it's just it seems worse for some reason. It seems less high tech.
It does. Yeah, I guess so. But
I would much rather get shot.
Yeah.
In
lethal injection. Yikes.
Yeah. Like even if it's like you're shot in the heart, like you'll feel it for
the briefest
half a second.
Yeah,
that's about it. But once the blood stops going to your brain in that second, it's kind of done.
There was one guy whose execution was stayed because they tried for something like 40 minutes to find a vein.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I
like,
remember that.
oh, just
That
put him
that
back
to me
in
is,
jail.
yeah. That to me is more cruel and unusual. You know, a couple days ago, 2 pedophiles were killed in Yemen.
Whoa.
They kidnapped and raped and then murdered a 12-year-old boy. And so these 2 guys were, well, now this is also what I should say. I read this article, read this story, but I don't really trust it so much.
Fake news.
I don't really trust that it was like the whole story. Maybe it was. Either way, there's pictures of these guys like being, they're put face down on this blanket outside. It's public. There's 1,000 people behind them. And then 2 police officers come over with AK-47s and put them in the back of their bodies and just blow them away on the ground. Like it seems barbaric. I bet they died real quick.
Mm-hmm.
An AK-47 to the back. You're not getting up. I mean,
That would rip you in two. Shit, man.
yeah, I don't know. I mean, China is suspected of killing like 3,000 to 5,000 people a year, but they don't really. It's not public. It's not
right.
There's no real way to know.
It's unknown, but it's happening.
Yeah, I think the U.S. killed like 40 people last year.
Something like that.
43.
It might have even been fewer.
I think it's kind of right in the ballpark of what happens every year. It's like 30 to 45.
And Texas is leading the way every year.
90% of it. But again, I mean, what are we talking about? Is it a capital? Is that an option or is it not? And if it is, what qualifies? And if almost nothing qualifies, then why do we have it?
And why? This is something that I don't think should be state to state.
Yeah.
If you live in the United States, the ultimate punishment should be across the board.
Federal, from the top. Well, I think because of the way the justice system is designed, the types of crimes that are prosecuted on a state level versus a federal level, it's really different. So like murder is prosecuted on a state level.
Yeah.
If you rob, or if it's a felony, like you rob a bank or something like that, then it's a federal crime.
Yeah.
So already, I don't want to execute someone that robbed a bank. If it's just like they went in, they got money, they left, they got caught, didn't kill anyone, didn't hurt anyone. You know, they certainly terrorized, I'm sure, the other, patrons or bank customers and the people working there. But aside from that, they just kind of went in and got some money and left.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a federal crime.
Right.
I don't want them executed. But if they went and murdered people, I think
there's 41 capital offenses on the federal level. Most of them relating to killing, but there's also treason and espionage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like wartime kind of stuff.
Yeah. And death resulting from aircraft hijacking. So big time stuff.
That's a good question. So if someone sold secrets to a foreign government, like here's some.
The thing, it doesn't result in death.
Yeah, but I think that I do believe that every country has spies, has foreign people working in foreign countries to gather information for the benefit of their own country. Like, the United States certainly does that. The CIA.
Yep.
We're definitely not alone. If someone sells secrets and one of those people is killed, you and I would never hear about it.
Right.
But it happened. Our government would know about it.
Yeah.
And if it threatens or jeopardizes the life of multiple people or hundreds of people or thousands of people or, cities in the United States, like depending on what the crime or what information is sold off or siphoned off or stolen. I don't know, man. I'm no closer to I don't think I will ever have a hard and fast yes or no answer on this. For me personally.
Are we going to argue that Osama bin Laden didn't deserve to be killed?
Right.
Good luck.
Good luck
with that one.
Yeah. What would be?
What's the threshold? Yeah. What is the? I mean, what else are you going to do but kill that guy?
Yeah, because if you add time, so if someone killed someone like in the 70s and we execute them in 2019, it's like
some people have been on death row for like 30 years
what's the
before
point?
They were killed.
I don't feel as much of an urge to see that sentence meted out, but So yeah, if Osama bin Laden was held in a jail cell for 40 years or whatever, 30 years,
Yeah.
does that make 9/11 go away? Or like
No.
he's not deserving of, the capital punishment?
Yeah.
I kind of have a feeling that was never an option for him.
Mm.
The SEAL team that went in there was not.
No, they weren't.
They weren't
capturing him.
taking any luggage with them.
Nope.
Any bodies.
There were 25 last year.
That's it.
Yep.
Success.
So in 1972, I didn't get too much into the specific case that got this result, but the Supreme Court ruled that basically, look, there's too much variance and arbitrariness to applying the death penalty. We're going to shut it down. So everyone that was on death row got converted to life sentences, and then states had to refine and narrow the reasons essentially for using it. So it wasn't until 76 that it was used again. So that's why we have all these numbers since 1976.
Yeah.
1,500. That seems low.
Yeah.
But there's been I don't know, way more than that sentenced to death. And women, both the sentencing rate and the death row population remain extremely small compared to men. 2% of the death sentences in the United States are given to female offenders.
That kind of jives with, I think, the types of crimes and sentences that women typically get versus men. I think you probably see similar, just in general, like prison population numbers would be way disproportionate.
Only 568 female executions have been documented since 1632.
Wow. Bunch of witches.
Yeah. A few of those.
Yeah. Salem.
And there's so few that you can immediately think of some because it becomes such a bigger deal when it's a woman. Like Eileen Wuornos, remember her? That one recently where she killed her boyfriend, like brutally. And she said that she deserved to die, but then she pled for them to not give her the death sentence. I definitely wanted to get more research in, but I think we've done.
Yeah, I mean, I have a feeling that there's this is one of those issues that there's a certain amount of information that I will ever be able to retain about it. Like, this is not the biggest problem in my life.
Right.
Thinking about this, or like, is this like, I'm never going to go march in favor or march against the death penalty.
What's your vote, though, if we get this on a ballot?
I think I would vote against it because I think that in the vacuum of it affecting me directly, I'm against it.
Yeah, I think me too.
And knowing how fallible every human being is,
and how our system
is not very effective, or not perfectly effective. Until it's perfectly effective, I feel like it's like we're running before we're walking here. And the more we learn about the brain, the more time goes on.
As we were talking about this, I was thinking the only way that we could know for sure, and it would expedite the process, is if we live in the Black Mirror world, where cameras are on everything or embedded in us, to where there is visual, concrete proof that this happened and they did it.
And then you have the moral discussion. All right, at that point, if it's a perfect system, we know perfectly that this is the person that did this crime. No question. Is it still what is the answer then? We still
have the right to end the life.
We still have the same moral question.
They didn't.
Yeah.
They did not have the right to do that. So what good does it do?
I think the only way to really talk about it is to remove yourself from the equation. So like, we're not talking about our families being killed or something, and how would you feel, or what would you want, or what would you do? Because you really can't. I mean, I can't answer that question. You can't answer that question, really. Right. I think I would vote against it. But again, I'm not. Also, it doesn't keep me up at night.
Yeah.
So I think
Right.
that says something too.
Well,
I don't think about it.
Because we're not seeing it in the streets.
We're not seeing the streets, but I really don't think about it.
Yeah.
I think if an innocent person is executed, I think that is a travesty.
Yeah,
and
absolutely. That list
that
of exonerated people off of death row
Yeah,
is alarming.
it's alarming, and that's the kind of thing that if I hear that, I mean, you can't do it.
Yeah. I was also thinking, if a person is found guilty and they want to die, that's another conversation. We tend to keep people from making that decision for themselves.
Yeah, in general. So now you're the property of the state once you're incarcerated. So so it's like, well, you don't get the choice anymore. You've essentially forfeited
You don't
all
get
rights.
any choice.
Even
even
to
choose
take
what
your
to
own
eat,
life,
bro.
They'll save your life even if you're on death row. You try to commit suicide, they'll
That's
save your life.
fucked.
It's weird.
Don't do that.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
If you were a guard, would you just keep walking? If you walk by and saw...
I mean, as a guard, I have a duty, but as me, yeah.
You peeked in, guy was hanging from some bed sheets, still kicking.
Yeah. That's what you wanted.
10-minute break. Gotta go.
I'm off the clock.
Hey, man. Gotta get home.
Yeah.
Modern Family's on.
Yeah, there's a lot more we could talk about it, but I actually wanted to throw it to a correspondent as on the ethical level, a man much more intelligent and well-spoken than us and his position. And I'm going to throw that now.
Okay.
So this is Christopher Hitchens speaking in 1997.
I'm not really sure how I'm going to make this last for 10 minutes, but I believe I can underline at least some of the reasons why this battle, so far from seeming marginal or humanitarian, is very important, essential, in fact, to those of us on this side of the House and the argument who have devoted their politics to the fight for a classless society and against the foul, hereditary apparatus of absolutism.
Just sounds so smart.
We,
I love listening to him.
frankly, unalterably oppose the practice of human sacrifice.
I love how he calls it human sacrifice.
Yeah.
It really puts
And we even have our doubts about the system that requires it. Let me explain a little what I mean by that. Every one of you by now will have read of the recent human sacrifice that took place in Florida. Actually, it turned rather disagreeably in the eyes and points of view of some liberal commentators into an immolation. It was unpleasant. There was the stench of burning flesh, repulsive to the nose. There was the flash of flame behind the mask, appalling to the eye. Mr. Medina's last few seconds can't be measured exactly, but they don't seem to have been very civilized as a means of exiting the society. The flames and the stench, I would say, are more or less routine. I don't want to dwell on them. The jaunty warders and governors of prisons in Florida have called that machine Old Sparky in their charming way for good reasons for a long time, to show who's in charge. That's why they do it. And I've seen worse myself. If you've ever been to the cyanide chamber in Parchman, Mississippi, you can say you've seen worse. And the most remarkable thing about these procedures, including the banalized, medicalized system now being preferred that degrades the medical and physician profession, the worst thing about it actually is how calmly it's received. In Arkansas the other day, they executed 3 guys at one go. One guy had to lie on a gurney with the drip in his arm for an hour and a half while Clarence Thomas debated whether he should live or die. And the statement made by the prison governors afterwards was, well, it's cheaper to do it in batches. It saves the state some money. Also, it saves on stress among the staff. This is what it means to have a therapeutic society. This is also what it means if you give someone like Clarence Thomas the power of life and death. We, on this side of the House, do not grant him that right. And I could stop here. But I won't, okay? There were some other points of interest in Florida. The victim's family said they thought that Pedro Medina was innocent, which there's good reason to think that he was. That'll be settled another day. It's too late for him now. And the district attorney said in an approval rating seeking statement, well, that'll teach anyone who wants to kill anyone in Florida not to do it here because there appears to be something wrong with our execution apparatus, he said.
It's fucked
A
up.
considered statement by a district attorney in a State of the Union,
That's crazy.
clearly seeking popularity and possibly getting it, for all I know or care.
Definitely getting
Because
some.
as you
Yeah.
probably don't know,
for sure.
Mr. Chairman, there are some politicians who are not good enough to resist the temptation of the opinion poll attitude to human sacrifice, or indeed to the photo op campaign human sacrifice. I hope this news does not shock or distress you. The President of these United States, in fact, launched his campaign for that high office by executing a mentally retarded black man named Ricky Ray Rector in Arkansas, a man so deeply lobotomized that he saved his dessert after every dinner. He had a fondness of pecan pie when they came to the cell to take him away because Bill Clinton was having a hard time in New Hampshire. And I say, and I can prove it, for no other reason did they come for him that night. Mr. Rector, as he left the cell, left his pecan pie behind, saying he'd save it for later. He didn't know why they'd come, and he helped them to find a place in his arm for the catheter because he thought they were doctors who were trying to cure his condition. A small price to pay, certainly the Clintonoids think, for a presidency of such
That's unacceptable.
excellence.
Yeah,
and
that's
certainly not the least such price, and certainly in the scale of the cost of human sacrifice, probably not the foulest. Now, but take that opinion poll execution that I just alluded to. It could be argued that this is actually an argument against the degradation of our public life and against postmodern politics, that it shows that the corruption and rottenness of that, not specifically of the human sacrifice system, sometimes called capital punishment. Let us agree that there are weaknesses that we might be the first to admit. It has been said that this is a racist penalty. You may have heard it said it's a racist penalty. The evidence that it's a racist penalty is overwhelming. All the figures confirm that it is applied in the most abruptly differential way as between black and white people of America, and that it is indeed in large parts of the country a legacy of the time when sharp reminders were needed as to who was running the show.
That's a good point.
But it could equally well be argued that's an objection to racism, not to capital punishment. It could be argued what we need then, therefore, is not a punishment that is inflicted in a racist way. After all, it can even be said, this is a racist society, or a society in recovery from racism. Other penalties, too, are applied differentially. Very well. It could be argued, let's have a non-racist application of the human sacrifice principle. Let me just say that equal opportunity human sacrifice would not meet any of the objections we have to human sacrifice on this side of the house. It's been said it's capricious. That's true. And there is one, of course, absolutely morally unanswerable case to be made against it of a pragmatic kind, which is that an innocent person executed is an unbearable thing to think about. That the irrevocability of it means that justice can never be done, whereas with all other forms of punishment, even if they've been applied by a racist system that never sentences the rich, nonetheless can be corrected. And of course, less often noticed that if you have executed the innocent, you have by definition liberated the guilty. I mean, it's a double offense, in other words, against all possible norms. Again, by definition, ex hypothesi, in the case of the murder of the innocent in a human sacrifice, the culprit has obviously gone free. So that's two. So that's bad. I don't think there'll ever be a convincing argument against that, but it's too limited. No, our argument is this. My argument is this. I should say our argument is this. And we think of it as an irrefragable argument, an irrefutable one. We deny to the state the right to assume the power of life and death over the citizen. In 1981, when Monsieur Robert Badinter was the newly appointed Minister of Justice in France and moved for the abolition of the guillotine in the French National Assembly, the only good thing the Mitterrand administration ever did, and had a long and very wonderful debate, which you can look up. He argued for it like this, with none of the arguments above. He said, we are opposed to the institution of capital punishment. He called it capital punishment, human sacrifice, because it expresses a fundamentally totalitarian relationship between the citizen and the state. The whole campaign of the Enlightenment, the entire progress and conduct of the European bourgeois revolution, if you will, and of the American Revolution in its Painite form, was exactly that, to say to the absolutists, no, the king has no divine right. The church doesn't even have a divine right. The state is a compromise between the government of men and the administration of things. It's an evil compromise. We accept it because things must be administered and, to some extent, men must be governed. But we hope to replace the government of men by the administration of things. In the meantime, the state cannot any longer assume the right of life and death, the power of the high, the middle, and the low. We repudiate it. This is a struggle in which every generation has to take its place and make up its mind. Now, the state may order you to risk your life. It may order you to fight. It may even order you to kill, but it may not order you to die. And we are so fascinated by states that will order death. The kamikaze is the counterpart of the worship of the emperor, that we realize the moral and historical sewer of ancestor worship and hierarchy from which this disgusting apparatus has come. And in saying we reject it and repudiate it, we reject also the beastly system of big government opportunistically deployed, which it represents. Thank you.
Excellent.
Yeah, I think he, as always, Hitchens puts into words emotions and thoughts that I just can't, I can't figure out a way to get them out of my body into the English language. Yeah, I think his arguments against it are,
very well put.
Perfect.
Rest in peace, bro.
R.I.P.
Man, I wish we still had him around.
Yeah.
I wish I knew him earlier.
Yeah. He would have been fun these last couple of years.
Oh, yeah. Man, he no doubt.
I think Sam Harris is he does a really good job, but I think Hitchens was such a complete package. Like
he had the bite.
He had the bite. He had the humor, the bite. And
the intellect. Too much Johnny Walker though.
Or not enough.
All right, man.
Hey.
I hope for a future in that if it still exists, it is much more refined and much more all of what we talked about. Like, it needs to be rock solid. I mean, I don't know if you can, it can't be perfect, but
I hope I live long enough to look back, like that medical science and understanding of the human brain, the human experience, cognition. I hope I live long enough to actually look back and say how barbarous it was, because that means I've lived into potentially a golden age of experience, But yeah, I do have a feeling that that's coming.
Yeah. And Texas will be the last state.
I think that the safe money is that as time goes on, it will be abolished.
Yeah.
As we understand more. Still,
when there's only 55 countries that even have it as an option, and we're the only Western country, I mean,
it's not good company.
Take a look. Yeah. Take a look at it.
Well, in the meantime, I'm Darren McCarthy.
I'm Dan Fury.
And this has been The Fundamentals.
This has been The Fundamentals. You can follow us on Twitter @FundamentalsPod or find us at facebook.com/TheFundamentalsPod and send your questions, comments, and suggestions to thefundamentalspod@gmail.com.